2023. I am Marisela Salinas, and I am the staff hearing officer for today. We'll start with preliminary matters. We did not receive any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or additions of ex-agenda items. Item B, we did not receive any announcements or appeals. Item C, I'm going to open up the public comment for any items that are not on today's agenda. Ms. Gu, is there anyone on Zoom wishing to speak?
Checking Zoom, I do not see anyone on the attendees list for general public comment. Thank you.
Does anyone in the room wish to speak? With no one raising their hand, we'll close the public comment and begin with the first item. 226 San Clemente. The 6,035 square foot site is currently developed with a 1,169 square foot residence and a 268 square foot attached garage. The project consists of 493 square feet of first and second story additions to the residence and a new 584 square foot accessory dwelling unit on the second floor. The discretionary applications under the staff hearing officer's purview are A front setback modification to allow continued encroachment of the existing garage in the front setback. B, an interior setback modification to allow continued encroachment of the existing residence into the interior northwest setback. And C, a coastal development permit to allow the proposed development in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the city's coastal zone. Pursuant to the Santa Barbara Municipal Code, when a proposed development involves the addition of an accessory dwelling unit to an existing residence, the application is reviewed without a public hearing in accordance with the government code. The staff hearing officer shall not issue a decision on the application until at least 10 calendar days after notice has been provided to the public. I can review written comments from the public, but without a public hearing, my action on the accessory dwelling unit is a final action, separate from the modifications. Ms. Gu, can you please switch to the plan review? Ms. Burkhardt will begin the staff's presentation, and then we'll follow with the applicant's presentation.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Salinas. I'm going to start with the site plan and just walk you through the encroachments requested. Let's see, it's not cooperating with me. So the site plan does a good job of outlining what's being requested at the first level. In purple, you can see the two modification requests. The first is this encroachment of the garage into the front setback. It encroaches approximately 4.5 feet, which is an existing condition. The applicant is just asking to maintain that condition. And similar here on the interior setback, there's a small encroachment. It runs from 6 inches down to 0 inches into that setback, and that's also an existing condition they wish to continue. There is a provision of the municipal code that states when you change the exterior appearance of a residence to a certain extent, you essentially are giving up those nonconformities. So that's what's happening here, and so they're asking for modifications to allow these conditions to continue. And then the areas in green are the additions to the first floor. It's only 52 square feet. The bulk of the additions are upstairs. So the area in green is the addition. It's 441 square foot addition to the primary residence, and the area in purple is the proposed 584 square foot accessory dwelling unit. And I'll discuss the modifications alternatives to the front setback that were considered were to enlarge and relocate the garage out of the front setback to create a standard two-car garage. Secondly, to enlarge and relocate the garage out of the front setback to create a tandem two-car garage. And lastly, to relocate the garage out of the front setback, providing a one-car garage and one tandem uncovered parking space in the driveway. However, those alternatives were deemed infeasible by the applicant team as they would involve quite a bit of demolition, which would likely push the project into a substantial redevelopment. So staff is supportive of this modification request. It simply allows an existing condition to continue. It's consistent with the existing pattern of development in the neighborhood and would prevent hardship on the applicant of having to demo and rebuild this area. And those are the same reasons also for the interior. It's such a minor encroachment and same reasoning there. Additionally, we did go to Single Family Design Board. They found the modification request to be aesthetically appropriate as it would continue the pattern of development historical to the neighborhood. The ADU meets all standards of the municipal code with the exception of architectural review, which is another reason we went to SFDB. They gave positive comments regarding the design, size, bulk, and scale, and the FAR. They did waive the supplemental FAR requirements. The additions to the primary residence, in terms of coastal review, qualify for a coastal exemption. However, as you stated, the ADU does require a coastal development permit. And staff has found it to be consistent with the California Coastal Act as well as the city's coastal land use plan. And then additionally, I just want to make you aware, we have conditioned any approval in regards to a substantial redevelopment. Staff does have some concern that that could happen once the applicant gets into the building permit stage or out in the field during construction. So if that does happen, there's a condition that essentially negates these modifications. So they would have to come back and start over with a new modification request or a different project. So that's built into the approval. And I think with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Cottrell.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Burkhardt, that was fantastic. I think that almost covered everything. I would like you to present all my projects now. The one item I just wanted to reinforce is that, when this development, this blue-collar development was done in 1954, obviously we had different zoning than we have today. Many of the existing homes have encroaching single-car garages, and we're just retaining that same pattern of development that Ms. Burkhardt noted. So unless you want me to walk you through plans, unless you have questions for me, I don't really have any other presentation unless you want to see elevations.
Okay, I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to open up, if you're done with your presentation then, I'm going to open up the public comment for today's item. Before we start, I will note that for the record that I did not receive any written comments for this project. Ms. Gu, is there anyone on Zoom wishing to speak?
Upon checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands for this particular item. Thank you.
Does anyone in the room wish to speak? With no one raising their hand, we'll close the public comment and continue with questions and comments. I did go out to the site and drove around the neighborhood. I also reviewed the plans, the staff report, and the supplemental information, so I'm very familiar with it. At this time, I really don't have any other questions. I think it's pretty straightforward, and the information's been pretty clear. Procedurally, I'll act first on the modifications and then the coastal development permit. I'm supportive of the encroachment since they are not infringing any further than the setbacks. As was stated, it's essentially a technicality in that these are needed because it no longer meets the basic exterior characteristics of the original residence as proposed. Additionally, the single-family design board was supportive of the proposed design. With that, I can approve the modifications with the findings and the conditions as stated in the staff report. I agree that the project is exempt from further environmental review under section 15303 as stated in the staff report. Let's see. Ms. Gu, can we switch to the appeal page? The action of the modifications is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. In terms of the coastal development permit for the accessory dwelling unit, the project is consistent with the policies of the California Coastal Act, and the project will not have significant adverse effects to the coast or coastal resources. As stated in the staff report, the project is consistent with all applicable coastal policies and guidelines as well. The action of the coastal development permit is final. Do you have any questions on this action? Nope. The next steps after the appeal period is to return to the single-family design board for the required approvals. And with that, this concludes the meeting today.
Well
Thank
done.
you. This meeting is adjourned.